You're watching HTV. Late and Live, the topical talk show where you do the talking. Your host, Dave Barrett.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Late and Live. We have a lively show lined up and two lively co-hosts as well. Of course, it's Katrina Buchanan and Fenella George. Here they are. Welcome them.
Good evening.
Looking absolutely delectable as always, of course. And Katrina will tell us what we have tonight on the show.
OK, on the agenda tonight, divided Britain, the widening gap between rich and poor. And on the soapbox, Richard Pearce asking us to limit our families to 2 children, which actually means I've got a lot catching up to do. Then sexologists Tony and Wendy Duffield are here to help us kickstart our love lives and liberate our sexual energy. Steady on. Our hot seat guest is Belle Mooney, well known for her writing and broadcasting. But most recently, she hit the headlines when she protested about the building of a local bypass. And Tony Cole, a daddy himself, has been considering whether he'll stop at 1 baby, let alone 2. And I have to say, I heard him practicing in his dressing room just before we came on air. His song, Dreadful Minds. Someone else I've heard practicing all sorts of things in her dressing room is up there at the phones now. Fenella.
Oh, she's a tinker. She's a tinker. Well done. That was lovely. Well, here we are in cosy telephone corner, just waiting to hear from you, in case you feel like dialing some digits and airing your views on any of the discussions we're having here tonight. The number to call, as ever, is 0272 722 555. There it is, 0272 722 555. Or if you feel like airing your views on paper and expressing yourself that way, then do fax us on 0272 722 522. 0272 722 522. As always, they're springing into action. That's what I like to hear. We look forward to hearing from you. Dave.
Thank you. Well, last week the Roundtree report was published. It showed that Britain's poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. The impact on our society is dramatic and there's no sign that things might improve. Since the late 70s, income inequality in this country has grown faster than in any other comparable industrial country. So why has this happened? Is it due to rising unemployment? Is it because there are more single parents? Or is it due to the different rates of wage growth between the poor and the richer groups? Well, we welcome 2 guests to help us sort out the issues. Chris Pond, who chairs the low pay unit, says that the position of children in low-income groups is of particular concern. And because rich and poor live cheek by jowl in cities, even the rich will feel the pinch of poverty, if only on the rebound. Nick Oblensky is from the Institute of Directors. It is, of course, highly paid directors who've benefited most from Tory policy in the last 16 years. But the government claim that the average British production worker benefits too. They say his take-home pay is the highest in Europe. So let's go to our guests. Low pay unit first. What's going wrong? What are you saying?
I think what's going wrong is that the gap between the highest paid and the lowest paid is now wider, not only since the war, but since 1886, when the figures were first collected. Those aren't my figures or the low pay unit's figures, they're the government's own figures. And that means that we have shocking inequalities reflected at the lower end in terms of real poverty and deprivation, while at the other end we've seen, and I do apologise about this, Nick, I don't want to embarrass you, but we have seen massive, obscene pay rises for those at the top to be added to tax cuts for those very people which during the 1980s, for some of those individuals, represented tax cuts of £5,000 a week. Now, that is the reason why the inequalities have widened. There's no magic about it. There's no surprise about it. It's part, I'm sorry to say, of a deliberate policy that's been pursued.
Nick, let me come to you. I mean, a lot of directors have come under criticism for the big pay increases. Would it also be fair to say that many directors, many high-paid executives, indeed many government ministers, send their children to private schools, they have private healthcare, they're totally out of touch with what real people have to go through?
I think it's very dangerous to generalise about directors totally. There are 1.5 million companies in this country, and they all have directors.
Let's say the higher paid.
Now, the higher paid, I agree that some of the pay rises that Chris was referring to, you know, let's make no secret about it. We're talking about the privatised companies, 145 directors, £100 million share option bonuses. I mean, all these things have been in the press. I just wonder if that is the reason why we have this inequality. Personally, I think we have two issues here. I think we have one issue, which is the inequality that we have in this country, and there is a widening gap, and the Roundtree report makes frightening reading. I think the second issue we have is the whole issue of how do we pay our directors, and is it fair? So I think there are two issues, and I think there are two separate issues. The Roundtree report make absolutely no mention of, directors' pay, the fact that it's due to rich people getting richer, that the poor are getting poorer. I think what the Roundtree make a reference to is that it is the treatment of the unemployment in this country, which is really causing a massive drain on the lower end of our society. And what's happening is we are just ending up with a disenfranchised section of the society, which is very frightening.
Let's go to the 100. I mean, if we're being realistic about this, we say we have poverty, and indeed we do have poverty, but aren't we much better off than we've ever been in this country if we look at standards of living? Who disagrees with that? Lady there, yeah.
I come from the northeast, and as a child, and I'm only 36 years of age, I never saw a down and out on the street in Newcastle, and I never saw a tramp. And now when we visit our inner cities, what are we seeing? People living in cardboard. So I think that within the last 30 years, the gap has widened greatly.
OK, anyone else think that as well? John on the front row.
Well, it's absolutely true that in a recent nationwide survey, people across the southwest, 60% actually claim that they were worse off than they were 5 years ago. How do you equate that, Nick?
Well, we're going to Nick in a second.
Let me just answer
go on,
that.
answer that, Nick.
I
Yeah,
think it's an important question. How do I equate that? I think there's a real problem here. I don't think that it's going to be solved by throwing rocks. I mean, we could have a debate on three levels. We could have a debate on throwing rocks. So let's, pick some people who are actually not very representative, like 145 directors in recently privatised companies, and throw rocks at them.
Well,
or we
let's
could
look at all
have a
people who are highly
philosophical
paid,
debate.
though, because what we're talking about is the low-paid and the highly-paid, and the gap is getting bigger. Is that right? Is that fair? It's a fairly simple question.
Yeah, let's not take your 145 for a moment, Nick. Let's take the top 10% of the population overall, who have seen their living standards go up by 62% since 1979, and compare that with those at the bottom who've seen their living standards fall by 17% over that same period. So you can't say it's a few highly paid directors.
Well, let's take the average in
utilities.
between. What's happened to the average in between? In the Roundtree report, the average in between, the Mr. and Mrs. average, have seen a 30% increase, according to the Roundtree report.
But 60%
but the problem is...
that's not really average, is it? Well, a very high majority.
The problem is that we've advanced down the road, but what's happened is, due to policy, due to a whole range of different issues, we've left a lot of people behind. And there are not very effective policies to look after those people. And that's the issue.
Hold on a sec. You need... you need a mic before we can hear you. Well, nobody will hear what
Surely
you're saying.
you directors are able to hang fire and let these people catch you up instead of running away even faster and leaving them behind. Because that's what you're doing. Well, you're running away from them. That's what you're doing. You have it within your hands to sort this problem out. We're not going to throw rocks. We're going to say, put your own house in order first. You put your own house in order and do what you're being paid to do, and that's let us catch up with you.
Well,
give us jobs.
Let's say, what are we being paid to do? We're paid by shareholders. Shareholders put money into companies, and they pay people like myself, and by the way, I'm not one of the 145, I'm way behind them, to actually run companies the most effective way we can. Directors do not set their own salaries. They're set by remuneration. By holding our salaries down, which we could do. I agree. We could stop our salaries. We could take a unilateral decision. Let's cut all the directors' salaries. Is that going to help the disadvantaged people in this country?
Am I right?
No, it's not.
Am I right in saying that one company that has recently had directors' pay vastly increased is still owned 51% by the government of this country? Now, you say the shareholders are directly responsible for what the directors are paid.
And if that is true, then the government should take a lead and show other shareholders how to responsibly manage their directors.
So are you not feathering your own nest in the meantime?
Well, how to say that? But surely ordinary everyday shareholders, particularly those in big, what were public companies, they don't have a say. They can't make decisions about what people get paid.
That's part of the problem.
Right,
part
so
of
we need to change that.
Well, I don't know if we need to change it. Part of the problem is that we've all... Give me a chance. Part of the problem is that we've all become shareholders. Well, not all, but a lot of people have become shareholders. I mean, how many people have shares? Quite a few. What we haven't got and what we haven't been given as shareholders is the full knowledge of what responsibilities and what power we actually have.
All right.
And the second problem is a lot of the shares are owned by pension funds, And do they act in the direct way that perhaps in some instances they should do? Almost absentee
Right, let me go back to
landlords.
the 100. Let me get some more points. Show on the end there, sir. Yeah.
Why do we place so much importance on directors in companies, and it seems very little importance on the workers? I mean, if the workers don't produce for that company, you haven't got a company. A director cannot direct if he's nobody to direct.
Who is it?
I absolutely agree.
Right,
I think the most important capital in the company is not the directors, it is the workers. And there are some companies in this country, like, for example, the John Lewis Partnership, who actually involve workers a lot more than what is typically happening. Now, what's happening is there is a groundswell, there is a change.
How are you going to increase it? Because at the moment, I mean, that differential is there.
Right, let me get an answer in a second. So I want to get some more views from the 100 before we go back to the sofa here. Gentleman behind you first,
Sure.
yeah.
Surely it's morally indefensible to pay directors these vast sums when we have in this country over 1 million children living below the EC poverty line.
All right, I'll get some answers to all these questions in a second, or some response, but I want to get a little more points first. Sir, gentleman there.
The root cause behind the Roundtree report has got to be the regressive taxation system in this country. We see more indirect taxation, VAT, for example, which hits the poorer elements of society harder than the richer elements. The unfair taxation system has got to be seen and agreed by everyone to be the root cause of the problem.
All right, gentleman on the end there as well, sir.
Yes, thank you. What worries me is that society appears to be getting more and more inward-looking, and my fear is that the unemployed will be blamed for the situation that they're in. They don't want to be stigmatised. What they need is help to get back into mainstream society and make a contribution.
Let's just look at that for a second, because we're showing this is, are we living in a divided society at the moment? Yes. Now, if we are, what are the repercussions of that in the future? Do we see that kind of law and order is going to break down, and eventually it's going to just get to a ridiculous... Well, it already has, some people say. Gentleman at the very back, sir.
If you take it at the moment, law and order has broken down in this country. And John Major come into power with the thing that he was going to make everything equal, or better than that it was now. And he's just carried on Margaret Thatcher's policies, which is feeding the rich and taking it from the poor. It's Robin Hood reversed, and that's all it is.
The people over here, lady on the front row. Yeah, OK.
If this chap's talking politics, I mean, I'm not necessarily a Conservative supporter, but what does he want us all to do? Have higher taxations and everything put in the middle, including the directors? Let's put it all into a big pot and share it out. I don't think so. Thank you very much.
All right, gentleman there, sir.
Right. This is a slightly lighter look at it. I think the level of obscenity is directly proportional to how close you get to that fat cat pay rise. In other words, the closer you get, the more your argument goes towards that, yes, we should all have some. The further away you are from it, then the more your argument is, hey, why are they getting it?
Let's go back to the sofa. How much of this is about greed? Because I suspect that a lot of people think that this is about greed. It's about people at the top wanting more and more and more, and they're willing to step on those people on the bottom to get what they want.
Generally, I don't think that's true. And I know a lot of people say, but I mean, listen, how many directors do we have in this company? Is it all about greed? I don't think directors are any more greedy, any less greedy than anyone else, personally. There are some obscene pay rises.
No, we're not just
there are
talking about
some
directors here.
indefensible
We're talking
raises.
about those who are highly paid, which may not necessarily be directors. What do you feel about it? Is it about greed, do you
I'm
think?
afraid it is, yes. I mean, we're told, whenever these issues are raised, we're told that this is the politics of envy. I think actually we've seen the politics of greed that has been at the forefront. And during the past few years, greed has been good. To be greedy is to be successful, is to be doing everything right. And those at the bottom of society, who Nick admits are being left behind, are being stigmatised, as somebody here said. The unemployed are being told it's their own fault that there are no jobs, their benefits are being cut. The poor generally are finding that they are in the firing line.
Let me just go back to the 100 again, just to put another point to you, one I made earlier about relative levels of poverty. Isn't it fair to say, all right, we know there are those at the bottom end of poverty who are very poor, we were talking about beggars on the streets, but surely for a lot of people our standards of living have gone up. You know, most people have got a colour television, a car, they've got a video, they've got all those sort of things. These are material things, but surely overall the standards are up on what they used to be.
What about the people who are working long hours on a basic wage, and they're doing it because they want to keep their jobs, because they're being told there are millions of people out there unemployed, and if you don't want to work those hours, we'll find someone that will.
Well, that's directly to do with companies, isn't it?
If that's what managers are saying, and if that's what some directors are saying, that's bad management.
Well, it's happening
I know it's happening. I know it's happening, but is that happening globally?
It's not the directors that are saying it. Let's let them off the hook for just a second. It's the government that's saying it. As you know, they are about to abolish unemployment benefit and replace it with something called the Job Seekers Allowance. And that everybody who claims that benefit will be asked a question: what is the lowest wage you are prepared to accept? Now, I'm glad that Cedric Brown of British Gas was not asked that question, because he would have said £470,000 and he'd have been disqualified from benefit. But it's turning unemployment into a Dutch auction, where the jobs will only go to those prepared to accept the lowest wage.
We know you're not here to kind of represent the...
Cedric Browns of the world.
To represent the government, but do you think the government have got it right or not?
I think the government have got some things right. I think they've got some things wrong.
Right.
I think what they really have got wrong is that we've left a lot of people in our society way down the line. That's the first thing. I think some of the legislation concerning unemployment, all that's happening is that we are paying for the cost of failure rather than what we should be doing, which is investing for the future success.
Right. Let me stop you just a second, because Fenella's got some comments from you at home now. Fenella.
There's some excellent points coming through this evening. Starting off with Eric from Highbridge. In the 60s, we had a period where the pay was limited for everybody. Why can't that sort of thing be done now? 1% means very little for nurses, but an incredible amount for a highly paid director. Jackie from Bristol in Southfield. She feels that in the UK we don't have poverty like Rwanda. We shouldn't plead poverty, and why not look at India? Mr. Tomlinson from Shepton Mallet. There should be an alteration in tax. Government should tax on earnings, not by adding VAT onto essential items needed by everybody. And finally, a question. What should the average wage be for a married man with 2 children?
OK. Who wants to answer that? Perhaps both of you like to have a hazard a guess at that one.
I'll have a go.
OK.
I'll have a go. Let's use, for instance, the figure used by the Council of Europe, because, as you know, we are now the lowest paid nation in Europe, and I think that is shameful. We represent in this country a quarter of all Europe's poor. Wait a minute, Nick, let me finish this point. Let me finish this point.
Okay.
Now, the Council of Europe set what they call a decency threshold, because we're also the only country without a minimum wage in Europe, and that decency threshold would be about £5.90 an hour currently.
Right.
At the moment, you see the surprise people express, because 10 million people in this country earn less than that decency threshold.
Right. Very quickly, what do you think is an average, which should be a good average basic wage for a family?
What, an hourly or weekly?
Whichever.
I would, monthly, I mean, I would say £4 an hour, £5 an hour.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, I mean, no, hang on.
Very quickly, because I want to go back to the 100. I want to talk about this.
Chris was saying that we are the most poorly paid society in Europe. I mean, now I get confused, because the OECD report said that our production workers were the highest paid in Europe, apart from West Germany and Luxembourg.
And that's the OECD.
Right. So I mean, you know.
We've already heard from you, so let's hear from someone else to be fair. But lady here, yeah.
Can I just say, I've spoken to Chris about this in the past. When we abolished the pound, shilling and pence rise and went for a percentage rise, this is when this started to happen.
You think they're ripping us off? OK, gentlemen there, sir.
Why is it then that the government are paying £9,000 to keep people on the dole, when this money should be transferred into, like, community work for the elderly, people who really need these services, because I'm working with them every day? I mean, the whole system stinks. It's just greed turning into envy.
Lady there, yeah.
One thing that I find most annoying is all these privatised companies, they don't employ any more permanent staff. All they do is take in agency staff and pay them rock bottom for it, and they're expected to do the same job as that we do. It's just not fair.
Gentleman at the back, sir.
All these people talking about greed, I don't think it really is about greed at all, because I can be as greedy as I want to, and often I really try to be as greedy, and I still don't get any of these sort of wages. Right, so I think we should cut that out to begin with. I want to hazard a guess. I reckon, it's a bit old-fashioned, right, but I reckon it's a class society. And I reckon if you're in the right class, you end up with the right wages.
Do me a favour, my friend. We know the last 16 years, all this government has been about is to ensure that the gap gets wider, and they've done it with connivance of people like you. Now, please don't come here and insult our intelligence, please.
Well, let me talk about that. I mean, give me the right reply.
I think it's only fair that you should respond.
I'd agree. I think that's completely off the wall. I do not think that it's been done with connivance. There is no huge conspiracy. If you look at the income gaps between directors of companies and secretaries in America, in Canada, in Germany, in Spain, in Belgium, it's the same. The problem in England is that we have had policies which have had too much emphasis on success, too much emphasis on personal gain, and not enough emphasis on actually making sure that the people who do not have the abilities, do not have the skill, do not have the education, can actually keep moving forward with the rest of us.
You've ensured that this country and this government has created a low-wage economy, and it's necessary for you and your like to obtain the high rises that you get, that we are kept down. There's no other way of doing it.
I think what's more important is it's necessary for people in my position to actually start thinking a little bit more about how we ensure that the people who've been left way down the road can actually be brought forward. Well, and I think that's far more positive than throwing stones.
Let me stop all of you for a second, because we're going to go for a vote now. Fenella's got the details. Fenella.
Yes, indeed, it's about that time in the debate where we'd like you at home to vote. And the question we're putting to you tonight is, are we better off now than we were maybe 5 years ago? If you think, yes, we are better off, the number to call is 0891 400 601. That's 0891 400 601. If you think, no, we're definitely not better off than we were maybe 5 years ago, call us on 0891 400 602. That's 0891 400 602. The corresponding flags on either side of the screen will move up as the calls come in. You've got 2 minutes to make your call, and those 2 minutes start from now.
No, thanks. Let's come over to this side now. John, front row here. Yeah.
I do not think there is anything such as equality. I do not believe that if you take this assembly here with 100 people that we are all equal. I think it's a great pity that so far we are into politics when the whole question of what people earn is really up to the individual. It is not our business if a director is highly paid or not. If all the directors had their salaries halved, and they do take a lot of responsibility, Dave, and it's a very difficult job to be a director. If they all cut their salaries, it would not make a jot of difference to the way the company operates.
All right, who's hang on, hold on, let's go. Yep, go on. You want to come back
on management philosophy, as I'm sure Nick knows, is empowerment. Absolutely. That means putting the responsibility down to the bottom level, the worker. That eases the directors from any advocation of responsibility whatsoever, so it's that fair day's pay for a fair day's work, the bottom guy should be getting it.
All right, gentleman next to you, sir.
It's very interesting. Nick made a point earlier on about how they fund the directors' salaries. It's been quite interesting in the past couple of years that the previously nationalised industries become private. As soon as a massive pay rise is actually given to some of its directors, a week later in the press you hear notice of redundancies for its staff. Now, can you justify that? I find that personally immoral.
I find it very difficult to justify
It is this big gap as well, isn't it?
I really do.
We worked out earlier, we were working out in the office that one of the heads of one of the big companies that's been privatised earns more in an hour than his secretary earns in a whole week. Is that right?
Well, it's probably the same in America. It's probably the same in England.
Hang on.
We've got 2 questions. We've got 2 questions here. Let's address the first question.
Very briefly, if you can.
Right. I find it... no, hang on. I find it very difficult to justify that. But I will say this. Is that the norm? We have a situation where we've taken a whole load of industries into the private sector, and suddenly all the bosses get massive pay rises. Now, why is that? Is it because they're stars? I don't think so. Maybe they were very, very far underpaid in the first place.
Nick, just stop me a second. I mean, there's another point here that's important. Are we suggesting that if we stop paying directors huge, great pay increases, that suddenly all the rest of the staff will get more money? Isn't that a bit unrealistic? Well, what are we saying here, then?
Well, first of all, let me say, I'm not going to apologise for what I said. This is political, and I won't be political in stating a fact. Major and Thatcher come in that they'd look after us, which they didn't. That's one thing. Now, the other thing is, if these directors didn't get these big salaries, all right, we wouldn't gain. But what we'd like to see is the directors decide what we're going to earn, all right? But the directors get another director from another company coming in and say, right, that's how much you're worth, so that they can say an outside body decided what we're going to get. But then they do a reverse then.
Didn't people say that? It's the shareholders that benefit
the shareholders
from companies doing well and making profit, and a lot of people are now shareholders.
The shareholders aren't gaining anything.
Well, they are, because they're getting more
hold
money
on.
the shares.
The shareholders can't say too much.
No, but if you bought shares in British Telecom, you're a lot wealthier now than you were when you bought them.
The bosses can overrule them straight away.
Right, let's jump on the end there. So you wanted to say something?
I was going to say, I think the emphasis is not so much on either on greed or envy. It's simply on morality. I mean, the country that I live about half of the year in is Hong Kong, which is the most affluent city on earth, and where there are beggars, in the same way as there are here. However, in Hong Kong, where salaries on top directors can be astronomically huge, large numbers of those directors put large sums of money into what are called Kaifeng associations. This isn't a matter of charity, it's a matter of giving money back into the community, money which they've earned as a super premium on doing whatever they do. Now, I'd like to see some directors in this country starting to put some of their own personal money back in this way, rather than taking it in the and paying not paying it to beggars in the street.
There are some directors who do exactly
hold on
that.
a second.
In fact, one of the directors... But there are so few. I agree. They're not enough,
I want to get a final word from this lady who was disagreeing and saying no to that last thing.
Actually, because what did Thatcher do? She made the unions toothless. And I do think that we've talked an awful lot about directors' pay, and I do think we ought to negotiate through the unions for decent pay for workers who do a decent job and can have a house over their head and kids to have a decent living.
All right, that's a good way to finish. Fenella now has got the results of that vote. Fenella.
Yeah, let's have a look at the result of the vote, see what you've been calling in about. And the overwhelming result, as you can see on the screen, is no, you think we're not better off today. So no, you don't think we're better off today. That is the result of the vote.
We've got to take a short break now, but stay with us for our soapboxer, Richard, who says that, oh, come on, steady on. He says that with today's contraceptive methods, we really ought to limit our families to 2 children. And you've got to be ready to fight your corner, Richard. They are ready out there. They're baying for blood. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now, our soapboxer this evening is Richard Pearce, and Richard is recommending some rationing. Now, he's not talking nylons, he's not talking food. So just what is he suggesting we ration? Well, you've got your minute to explain yourself, so good luck. Take it away.
Great, thanks. In the 1950s, 2 for a pigeon pair and 2 spare was the slogan for the British family. In 1964, live births in this country exceeded 1 million. But now we live in an age which is capital intensive rather than labour intensive. We don't need so many for factory or shop work. I'm not quarrelling with those who already have 4 children. I'm looking for a cut-off date when you can receive a form of grant to confine yourself to 2. Now, for those with strong religious views, why not become a monk or a nun for a time and go back to marrying later? And it's possible that God may appear to the Pope and we'll have a pronouncement from the Vatican on contraception. Now, those families which are found in countries such as Norway, Switzerland and Singapore tend to be replacement only. Singapore has had a Breeding for Brilliance program. It's managed to persuade people to confine themselves to 2. Now, you've had a much lower rate of youth unemployment and youth crime in Singapore, so stick to 2 by the year 2000. That's my slogan.
2 children.
2 children.
2 children. Yeah. Right, we have people waiting to speak on this. Lady here.
Right.
If a devoured Catholic stood in front of you now, would you say the same to them? Because they don't believe in... Whatever.
Okay,
doesn't believe in contraception. Would you say the same to them?
Some years ago,
Shut up.
a large number of people became monks and nuns in this country. Now, these are sustainable communities. And I have great respect for the Catholic Church, and I belong to Society of Friends myself, but I think there's a good case for Catholic theology in many respects.
Right, let me start. Yeah. Isn't he making, in one sense, a sensible point here? Because hang on, let me just finish. Let me just hear me out a sec. Because in the future, when we have overpopulation, it's going to be a major problem. It's already happening in China. Aren't we going to have to do this anyway at some point? Lady in the middle there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, both of you, actually. We'll go to you first.
Well, you just mentioned China. Now, in China, they're allowed 1 child each.
I'm not supporting
China.
Hang on. Let her finish first.
Do you advocate the same sort of thing as China? Because there...
2, he's saying.
Yeah,
2.
but, OK, so you're having 2. Are we going to do it the same way? In China, they have the authority...
That's to say the world over.
The authority The authorities actually pay people to report when somebody's pregnant for the second time. They then go to the homes, they drag those poor women off and give them, you know, forced abortions.
Right.
Do you advocate that?
It's a good point. How are you going to enforce it?
Are you going to be one of the bully boys that go around and drag the women out screaming?
I'm strongly opposed to any form of coercion. I favour the carrot, but not the stick. There'd be a sterilisation.
Please. So what will you do with people who break the law, who don't do it?
Well, they repay their grants.
Right,
or
okay, they don't get
purely
money.
financial.
So lady who was next to you, yeah, you wanted to say
I
something.
actually sort of agree with you in a way, because I've got 2 children, and I mean, everyone will go boo, boo, boo. I couldn't cope with any more than 2. I think 2 is enough. I've got 2 arms, I can fit 2 kids in.
Is there anybody who does agree with him?
plenty
Put your hand up if you agree with him. I think this is a good idea. Gentleman on the front row.
Yes, I agree with Richard. I think 2 is a figure which would represent a structured approach to the future for the very reasons that you said. We're not going to have full employment for everybody as we've enjoyed in the past, for the reasons that you have said. I think it's perfectly sensible.
All right, well, someone agreeing with you. Lady here, yeah, what do you think?
This gentleman seems to be sort of saying that we have in the past had children to fill factories. I didn't have my children to fill a factory. I've actually got 4 children who I love dearly, and I'm not
All right.
just sort of say I've
Fair
got to
point.
have 2.
Let's go, lady right at the very back there, third in from the end. Yeah, hi.
Why is it that if in Britain we encourage so much people who are infertile to have things like artificial insemination? What would you do with somebody who had test tube treatment and they were pregnant with 6 children, like sex tuplets or something? Would you kill 4 of the children, or would you put them up for adoption, or would you sell them, or try and export them, or what?
If that happened, there'd be a special case. But my argument is that this carrot will have the effect of limiting population for the majority of people. There would be special cases.
We're not really talking about
The overall effect
We're talking
would
about-
be to stabilise population.
Gentleman in the rugby shirt, so yeah. Hold on a sec, please. Hang on.
I've got to get in, I'm sorry. I didn't realise the use of a carrot, honestly. I always thought they were to eat, actually, but never mind. One thing I would say is that by the time that you're projecting the population figures to, there is going to be an increased aged population. And all your capital investment is going to do nothing for those people, for the community work that will be necessary. And in fact, there will be, I mean, the idea of having more people available to help those aged people, I think is very important.
May I answer that?
Well, hang on a sec, because we're running out of time. I'm just going to get a couple more. Still on the end there, yeah.
I'm interested to know what the carrot is.
Well,
what carrot was you proposed dangling?
Sterilisation grant of a few thousand.
Sorry?
What's the aim? What is the aim behind all this? Why do you want to limit the population? Because you think there's too many people?
Stabilisation, there'd be lower youth crime, lower youth unemployment. Also, more for those, because there'd be fewer coming into the world. Now, we can cope with your problem through banning age discrimination. I'm violently anti-Nazi, by the way. I belong to Democratic Left,
All right,
so I'm
very
totally
final
opposed
point,
to
lady
Nazis.
here,
Yeah.
I noticed when they put the hands up that most people of the older generation agreed with you. So they've had their kids, so why should you inflict your moralistic views on people who are still in the process of having theirs?
All right,
You've done your bit.
Okay, gentleman on the end, sir.
Can I just say, no matter how many kids you have, as long as you can afford to keep them. Am I right?
Yes.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there because we're out of time, but I think he deserves a round of applause. He did well. Well done, Paul. Thank you. Well, time for some more music now. Tony Cole has got a song. It's about sex as well, I think, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes.
Well, we'll let you get on with it. Tony Cole.
Thank you.
There are some who say that global family planning is humanity's best hope in the long term. Now, it doesn't look like that from where I'm standing, but then things look different when you are a sperm. As a way of reproducing, intercourse is a procedure God decided would work well. It's a method that relies on market forces. One sperm wins and 50 million swim like hell. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. Let's give Durex a sock in the eye. I will beat off all my comrades, though I have no arm or leg. All my life I have been dreaming of a big fat juicy egg. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. I must swim like the clappers or die. Now it's hard enough competing against tadpoles, but even then it may be all for naught. There's a good chance we'll end up as little sadpoles if we meet other things than eggs when we come out. We don't know that much about the man we live with, so there's a chance we'll meet a contraceptive doom. Or perhaps it isn't girlies he's active with. He may even be alone there in his room. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. I would love to stay and chat, but I must fly. I must make it to the other side without delay or fuss. Encountering a condom's like colliding with a bus. I've a feeling my moment is nigh. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye.
Tony, you are brilliant. There'll be more musical magicry from Tony next week. Now, our guest in the hot seat after the break is Belle Mooney, author of many a good book and hundreds of reports and features in the press and magazines. Last year, she demonstrated her commitment to a cause by going on a hunger strike. She'll tell you more after the break.
Thanks so much indeed. Welcome back to Late and Live. Well, our guest in the hot seat tonight is well known for her writing and broadcasting, but quite recently she joined protesters at the construction site of the local Bath Eastern bypass, taking risks which even went as far as a hunger strike. She is Belle Mooney. Belle, welcome to Late and Live.
Thanks.
You did this protest quite publicly, and it seems to me that you got an awful lot of criticism, both from the local and national press and from local people. What went wrong there? Why do you think they were... I mean, they were pretty nasty about you. What happened?
Nothing went wrong. I mean, people are always going to resent you putting your head above the parapet for some good reasons and for some bad reasons. People felt very, very strongly about the issue on both sides, and I respect the opposite side, and I want them to respect me. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a fall down there. And I think that on the national, I mean, God, Linda Lee Potter, you know, what's they called, Philippa Kennedy in the Express. You know, they're like a pack of trained lurcher bitches. They just like to have a go. So, I mean, you know.
What about the hunger strike? Do you think that? I mean, do you regret doing that afterwards?
Well, you know, you call it a hunger strike. I think it sounds awfully dramatic. It was a protest fast done absolutely consciously because I thought I have a lot of local friends, and they were out there day after day. They had a little banner called Mothers Against Roads, and nobody came and took their picture, and nobody cared. And I thought, well, something's got to be done about this. What can I do? So I said to my friend, Kathy, do you think if I came down here in a tent and sort of fasted for a bit, it would get some attention? I should think it would. That's all right, I will.
But why were local people who were directly involved in this against what you did? Because one would have thought they would have been pleased that you kind of added your name to theirs and helped them.
Well,
why were they against it?
No, well, an awful lot weren't. I mean, you know, I have a fan club in Bath, you know, as well as the opposite. No, the point is you have an issue like that which divides communities, and the Department of Transport loves that. I mean, it's divide and rule. You have, on one side, a group of people who've had traffic problems in their village, Bath Eastern, for years and years and years and years and years. It's on an old coaching route, probably in the 19th century even. They needed a small bypass, a single carriageway bypass. There was no way the Department of Transport was going to give it. So what they've got is a part of a through route for freight. Now, there are people in Bathampton. I mean, I know the geography may be boring, but I'll just say Bathampton, Bath Ford, Swainswick, ruined. And Balebrook Lane, the road is going through the middle of.
Right.
The Bath Eastern people are getting their bypass, but the others are suffering.
Right, let's go to the 100 with some questions and points about this. Yeah, gentleman on the front row, sir.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, this road, it's needed, it is needed, because the freight is already going through from Portsmouth to Bristol. So I can't understand, you know, what you're protesting about. It's got to come. It's got to come.
Well, everything that's been said... Well, first of all, I don't see why it has to come. Government
poor people in the villages just ruining their lives.
Yeah, just hang on a minute. Let's just talk about this freight. I'm very glad you brought up freight. Freight is the crucial thing. Because we know this is a through route. Now, the government's own predictions now say that with the freight increasing at the rate it's going now, by the year 2025, there'll be the equivalent of 2,800 extra lorries making a return journey between Manchester and London every day. You say it's got to happen. Everybody is now saying, well, actually, we can't go on like this. Why does so much freight have to go by road?
What is the alternative?
Well, in Switzerland now they're saying 95% of freight has to go by rail.
It's all snow over there, isn't it?
They're saying they can do it, the Swiss can do it.
All right, let me get some more points. Gentleman there, sir. Yeah.
Road transport is the 20th century system. We're trying to make a Victorian railway system work where businesses have gone to the motorway networks. The whole system is set up to use lorries, and the road system, we're basically still using a Roman road system. We're not into the 20th century on roads.
Gentleman on the front row there, sir. Yeah.
The type of people which are actually protesting at Bath Eastern, I saw it on the news, and most of them would appear to be the local renter mob, the louts that go to the criminal justice demonstrations, etc. How many local people were actually there? Because all we saw was this renter mob.
Well, the answer to the direct question is a great many local people. Do you know we had a petition we had signed in Bath to ask for a halt to building? 15,000 people signed it. I mean, Robert Key was quoted as saying a small minority of people are against this road. 15,000 signatures. I delivered to Don Foster personally at the House of Commons. Now,
but would you not agree that the people who are sitting up trees being chainsawed down?
Now, when you have any protest, let me tell you this, you are going to get a broad church of opposition. The local people, you had people of every age. I mean, my friend Celia is, I don't know what, in her 70s, I think. She was out there every day in her Save Our Salisbury T-shirt. Right. And you had school children. Now, the people who come in with the dreadlocks, what are you talking about? People with dreadlocks and nose rings.
Yeah, the louts.
Those, well, you say they're louts, sir. I could name 2 or 3 of those who I would be very proud to count as my friends, because they are serious, committed people. And you cannot call them louts with great respect, sir, no more than I could you, because you have not met them, and I have. Now, you actually had, on that hill, on Salisbury Hill, you had some kids there who actually represented the government's care and the community scheme. There were very disturbed people on that hill. There were young kids who, who'd left home. One boy who'd lived life in orphanages, it was a gravitational thing, and some of them were an absolute pain in the neck, I can tell you. But the vast majority were serious and committed people, and they have a right to protest.
Are you anti-road, anti-car, would you say?
No.
You're not? It's just getting a balance.
How can you be? No, it's just, we have to have a balance.
All right, that's a lady on the front row, yeah.
I don't think it's the case of being anti-road, but I live on the other side of the hill. In fact, I'm your new neighbour. And that road is atrocious. It is cut through some of the most beautiful countryside you can imagine. And they only needed 1 lane. They didn't need the amount they've done.
Let me just ask the 100 gentlemen. I want to show of hands here. How many people here believe that, we live in a society that's encouraged us to buy cars and to use cars, and that as car users we should have roads to use? Who thinks that's fair and that's acceptable? There's quite a few. Who thinks that that isn't fair? All right, OK, let's go to some people who think that isn't fair. Lady at the very back there, yeah. Why not?
I don't know if you would remember the Stratford Park trees in Gloucestershire. We sat and protested and actually saved those trees because they wanted to widen the road and put up a Tesco store. But they've got their Tesco store, we've still got our trees, and it looks beautiful.
OK. Lady here, yeah.
The problem with there was a problem with Bath Eastern with the distribution, and I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to live there. I mean, the reports that we saw on the television were awful, but the point was that where they put the road was bang out of order. I mean, they shouldn't have put it through there. The other thing is, you mentioned about distribution. Stuff can be moved by rail, but it's still got to be offloaded and taken to the depots. So you're still going to have freight on the roads.
All right, let's get lady there. Yeah, just at the back there, yeah.
You say you're against road building. Would you be against roads going underground then? Though you've got these beautiful land sites, etc. Would you, if they went underground like the Channel?
Well, they wouldn't do that, will they? Too expensive.
But why not protest for that? I mean, it's an alternative. There's a road as a road.
I didn't say I was against road building. I said I'm against unnecessary road building. And can I just say this? We were talking about this.
Cars. We need to drive.
Yeah. Now listen, if all the government's existing plans for road building are built, right? It will not, this is the government's own figures, it will not solve the traffic forecast figures. The point is, we are on a road to nowhere. You have a vast increase in freight. You have 400 superstores planned for the next 2 years on this tiny island. Think of the land take. all requiring car parks, all making people drive to them. So the city centres, the town centres decay. Now the government, it's not, there is no proof whatsoever, and I have files this big to say that the creation of new roads creates jobs. There is no research done on this whatsoever.
How much of this is the NIMBY thing? You know, not in my backyard.
No, not in anybody's backyard. It's not NIMBY.
Anybody's.
It's not NIMBY. No.
Do you use public transport yourself?
Yep.
How many cars are there in your household?
How many cars in my household? 3.
Oh. Wouldn't some people say that's a bit hypocritical then?
No, because my house, the three adults, one of them isn't part of the family. He's a freelance photographer. He's sitting in this audience. He needs a car for his work. My husband has a car, and I have a car.
But if you're
I just beamed to London by train. I got the train on Wednesday morning, and I came back today. On the train, I use a tube in London, which is very good. Train cost me £54. This seems to me to be a disgrace. We subsidize, well, the railways, we won't even talk about the railways. We haven't talked about railways and transport and passenger transport. This country, what this country has done to its railways is a disgrace. There is no way that a ticket could cost £54. In other countries, they subsidise their railways. You go to Switzerland and they travel everywhere, everywhere. The Germans are investing in the railways. The Germans are investing heavily. Why is it that we get it wrong? This splendid, beautiful island, and we get it wrong.
Well, listen, how many people here would use public transport more if it was better, if it was more reasonably priced? Most people? Yeah, I think that's pretty unanimous here. Let's get this lady at the back who had her hand up for a long while. You wanted to say?
I think one of the answers is to subsidise public transport more.
Well, it is.
Well, it should be more. It should be a lot cheaper for students. Students should have free transport.
Deregulation
for example, yeah, but for example, in Germany, all students have free public transport, and none of them have cars or need cars. So
I think. Hang on a sec. I need to go to some people who haven't spoken. Lady on the end, yeah.
Changing the subject slightly, what about all the time and money that's spent by the police at these demonstrations? They've got better things to do.
Yeah.
Well, look, the thing is this. Every forward movement in a society is marked by people saying things that other people don't want to hear. And I think there is an honourable tradition of protest in this country. Look at the suffragettes. Well, look at the people in Gandhi's Britain. And I am absolutely proud to have joined those people. And they taught me a lot. And money was spent. It's not as much as being spent on that damn road. 80 million for 2 miles of road.
Lady on the front row here, yeah.
I think you need to protest at times. I belong to the Royal Hill Action Group. I don't know if you've seen it on television. And we're trying to save the embankment in Bristol.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to build on it. And we want to save it for the wildlife and everything. And I think you have to keep parts of Bristol green. So if you really, really believe in something, you have to protest.
Yeah. How much at the end of the day is it inevitable that if the government or whoever want to build a bypass or a motorway, it will happen, no matter how much you protest? Because you don't seem to have been that successful in this case.
I know, but listen, hang on. This road is being built, but we were vilified and mocked for saying things last summer which are now policy. You had the Royal Commission on Environmental Pollution last autumn, which urged the government to restrain car travel. I love the word restrain. Then the SACTA reports, government's own Standing Advisory Committee on Trunk Road Assessment, spent years looking at trunk roads and they're supposed to solve traffic problems. What did they conclude? That all these new roads are going to increase traffic. The government was so embarrassed it sat on it for 9 months. Right. There's been a change, there's a sea change. You've even got road protesters on Casualty in Grange Hill now. Have you noticed? It's wonderful.
Let me stop you there. Katrina's got some questions for everybody at home now, so let's find out, and some points. Let's see what people are saying at home.
Right, first of all, we had a call from Steve from Bath, and he says that most of the people in Bath want the bypass. Most of the people who protested didn't come from Bath. Then a question from Mr. James from Bath Eastern. And he wants to know that are you going to foot the bill for additional costs that you caused by protesting against the Bath Eastern bypass?
I think that means no.
I mean, I can't even answer. It's such a stupid thing to say. A load of old rubbish.
Wonderful. We'll have Mr. James back on the phone about that one. Martin McAlpine from Keynsham, he called and he said, when you or your husband go to London, do you use the major roads or the minor ones?
Well, I use the train unless I have to come back. I sometimes choose. I really love Bath so much. Occasionally, I like to drive back very late at night on the M4. M4 at 1 in the morning is empty and it's a bliss. And, you know, you've got Bonnie Raitt playing and it's wonderful. I use a car. car, you know. I use the car, but I use the car judiciously. And the whole point is, you see, it's so boring to say, well, am I going to put the bill? Of course I'm not. I'm not made of money. And you know, it's just so stupid and so petty and so trivial. And of course I use a car when I have to use a car. What all this is about is changing the way we think and our assumptions. And all these debates tonight have been about that, haven't they? Rich and poor, there's an innate sense it's not fair if all these fat cats earn all this money. Children, we've all assumed we have the right to have enough children. Well, maybe it won't be that way we're in the next millennium. We can't just go on driving ourselves like over a cliff like lemmings. Maybe we have to change. And I'm interested in making choices and asking questions. And it's not about, you know, whether somebody has 2 or 3 cars or not.
Right.
It's about thinking about the kind of Britain that our grandchildren are going to inherit. I want grandchildren, and I don't want them to inherit a Los Angeles type
to be
wilderness.
fair, though, don't you have to lead by example? You say about not having 2 or 3 cars
Right.
in the family, but
now
I mean,
there's no
aren't people
bus.
going to criticise you
well,
for that?
I mean, I can take it. I'm tough. There is no bus from my village.
Right.
There was a bus.
Okay.
When I first moved to Upper Swainswick, there was a bus. So lots of old ladies in the village who don't have cars. And don't forget, 1/3 of the people in this country don't have cars.
Right, let me stop you there, because we're almost
Yeah,
out of
you
time.
haven't
We've got to
got a
get one
car.
final point here. Let's, gentleman there, sir. Yeah, what did you want to say?
Yeah, the impression I get is that you had nothing better to do and you just went in for it for the publicity.
Is that the impression you get? Well, you come and see me afterwards and I'll tell you, listen, I have got contracts to write 3 books. I have got 2 radio series for me. I took 6 months off to do this because I believed in it.
But you went over the top.
I went over the top. Listen.
All right. No, we're going to have to stop it because we're out of time, but a nice round of applause.
After the break, we'll be joined by sexologists Tony and Wendy Duffield, who will be talking about...
Sexologists?
Yes, who will be talking, among other
rude
things,
for Fenella.
about their latest video.
I do the rude
The Love
things.
Plan. Excuse
No,
me.
sex, rude
That's
things.
after the break.
Sexologist.
Behave,
Just 'cause
woman.
you watch
That's
the
after
video.
the break. See you later.
Thanks very much indeed. Welcome back to Late Live. Right, now, sex from the heart is what we're talking about next. I've clearly had the wrong idea all these years. A couple on the sofa, sexologists Wendy and Tony Duffield. They spend most of their work time helping people to have better sex. And just occasionally they get involved in scientific work. That is if you regard the recent Desmond Morris TV series as science. Do you remember the publicity about the filming of an orgasm inside a woman's body? Well, it was Wendy and Tony who were the subjects, and they'll talk to you about it later. But for now, let me show you an excerpt from a video they've made which is designed to enlighten sexual partners by showing them a love plan. It involves setting aside an evening a week for 12 weeks. Take a look.